Our next presenter, and I just want to say, I didn't think I had any reason to be talking about how handsome anybody was, because our next presenter is Kent Satterwhite. Kent Satterwhite serves as General Manager of the Canadian River Municipal Water Authority and has been with Crimois for 26 years. He's a registered professional engineer and has a civil engineering degree with emphasis in water resources from Texas A&M. Kent oversees Crimois' 400-mile aqueduct system, including a well field with 45 high-capacity wells. In addition to directing all operations of the authority, Kent initiated and orchestrated all aspects of Crimois' groundwater rights expansion from 42,000 acres to 440,000 acres, plus doubling production capacity to 100 million gallons per day. He personally negotiated over 125 contracts totaling $200 million for the purchase of 25 million acre-feet of groundwater. We think Crimois now owns more groundwater than any other entity in the United States. Kent serves as a member on both the Region A and O water planning groups, board member for the Texas Water Conservation Association, chairman of the Texas River Authority Managers Council, and is a Texas delegate for the National Water Resource Association. Mr. Kent Satterwhite.
Well, you've already seen my Jeopardy skills, and now you get to see my speaking skills. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize in advance for that. Let me see here. How do we work all this? Okay. Crimois was first started being studied in 1940s with the Bureau of Reclamation and the Corps of Engineers. Then the Texas legislature created Crimois in 1953. Started pumping water in 1968, pretty much just pumped lake water until 2001 when the groundwater project came online and also our salinity control project came online. This is a picture of our original system. You can see that we have an east aqueduct that goes out and services Borger and Pampa. The main aqueduct lifts the water 800 feet from Lake Meredith to Amarillo. That's where most of our energy is used. And it's gravity flow all the way to Lubbock and on down to Lamesa. We do have to lift it up again to go to Level Land and Brownfield. But this gravity flow aspect of the system is why this project was feasible in the first place. We have a large watershed area, over 6,000 square miles. That's a very big watershed. It's just not all that productive. You can see the lines on there. It goes pretty much from Amarillo, follows Interstate 40 to nearly to New Mexico. On the northern side, it's Dumas and Channing, and a lot of the white areas in there are sandy areas that we don't get runoff from. Lake Meredith was built so we'd have a water supply during both dry and wet times. I mean, if the river was consistent, we'd just drop a pump in the river and pump it that way. But this is a storage reservoir. It supplied nearly 1 trillion gallons to our member cities. This is 1 trillion gallons that would have otherwise come out of the Ogallala had the lake not been built. They stole my thunder earlier about the visualization, but that trillion gallons is about 580 miles deep football field full of water, so a lot of water. Took these pictures, took 2011 on a windy day, so you could see dust where there used to be water, where used to be a lake. Things have improved. Took this picture this week. You can see it's a lot better shape, but you can see this is looking out at Harbor Bay. So the upper picture there, you see normally Harbor Bay would be full of water. Bottom picture, it's not. A vast improvement though over 2011. We're about 26% full right now. This is the culprit. The black dotted line is our average inflow. You can see we've had good years and we've had bad years, but starting in 2001, we broke an all-time record low for inflow. We broke it again the next year, broke it again the next year, broke it again in 2006, I believe that is, broke it again in 7. Then we just shattered it in 11. 12 was horrible. 13 was bad, 14 was bad. Last year was a pretty decent year, above average, but not a drought breaker for the lake. Certainly a drought breaker for agriculture and things like that, but not for the lake. As I say, we're at 26%. The original firm yield, firm yield is a number that engineers use. That's how much water you can take from the reservoir on an annual basis and never run out of water in theory. The original estimates done by the Bureau of Reclamation showed 126,000 acre feet would be the firm yield, and that's what our system was designed around. The actual yield was more like 76,000. That's what we pumped from the 60s to about 2001. It's not really appropriate to do a firm yield study again because we're not convinced that the drought's it has broke for the lake, but if we did it today, it would be about 40,000 acre feet plus or minus. So not a pretty sight there. We're doing things to try to compensate for that. As the reservoir dropped, the lake had been up and the silt comes into the water and it drops it out into the river channel, and then as the reservoir dropped, there wasn't a channel anymore. So it wasn't a very efficient means to get the water to the lake. We had a pretty big project there where we opened up the channel back again, and that's been a pretty good thing. We can see a good effect from that. Salt seeder kind of took over. We started in 2004, and since then we've treated over 30,000 acres of salt cedars. We're using both aerial with helicopters and biological control. If you look in that bottom picture, you can look right in the very dead center of it, and there's a little salt cedar beetle. And that's been pretty effective for the last couple of years. We're concerned about it for this year, but we'll see. Another big issue we have at the lake is our chloride levels. You can see the trend is going up on the chloride levels in the lake. That's just a normal thing for a reservoir that doesn't pass water through it. We just don't release water from Meredith because it's, well, for obvious reasons. Obviously, the drought skewed that trend big time, but still the trend's there and it's pretty obvious. So to try to combat that, we've had the salinity control project that came online in 2001. We have 6 small wells in the riverbed. I think they have a capacity of about 90 GPM, gallons per minute, and we try to catch, what the problem is there's a brine artesian aquifer underneath the river, and there's cracks and fissures in the confining layer on the top of that aquifer. It allows this salty water to come back into the river. It's not a spring gushing out of the ground. You can't see it like that. It's just that the river flow gets saltier as it comes towards us. So what we're doing is trying to pump that water enough to reduce the water surface in that brine to where it doesn't get in the river, and then we inject it in this deep injection well, never to be heard from again, hopefully. Our current groundwater system, we actually have 44 high-capacity production wells. These are not just high capacity, but it's really high-quality water. 48 miles of 54-inch pipeline. Our total well capacity is 100,000 acre feet per year, with a pipeline capacity of about 69,000 acre feet a year. We need that freeboard, that extra capacity for when our wells go down, rotate wells for the health of the aquifer and such as that. Started off with, in 95, we bought 42,000 acres from an SPS subsidiary called Quicks. And the project was built around that. Then in 2005 and 2006, we added over 200,000 acres of water rights. When we got through with that, we thought we had more groundwater rights than any other entity in the nation. And then we pretty much doubled that with the purchase of Boone Pickens' water in 2011. Let me try to explain. So how much water do we have? How long will it last? Let me try to explain this graph to you. The black line is what drives all that. This is our usage. It's based on 3 things, 3 assumptions, 2 of which I hope I'm certain are wrong. One of them is Chamber of Commerce growth in our member cities, and that's a good thing. The other is no additional water conservation over the next 100 years, which you know is not going to be the case. What's the third one? The third one is no input from Lake Meredith. This is pure groundwater. We'll never get any water out of Lake Meredith again, and certainly we know that's not the case either. So this is an absolute worst case scenario. I assume this line's going to be much flatter than that over time. That line drives the blue shaded area and the red dotted area. The blue shaded area is the water we have in place, and it's on the axis over there that tops out at 30 million. We think we have about 26 million acre feet in place. Not that we can necessarily get to all that, but that's the water we have in place. The red dotted line is the Panhandle Groundwater District's 1 1/4 rule. That means you can, of all the water you have in place, you can pump 1 1/4% of that each year. Obviously, we could pump 350,000 acre feet or something this year if we needed it, but of course we don't. We don't have the capacity, don't have the need. Where those two lines cross at about 115 years is when we start, that's when we start hitting the groundwater district rules. We still have, what, 13 million acre feet of water left, but we're gonna have to curtail big time at that point. Again, this black line's flatter, all that stuff moves way out. In about a decade, we had to transition from pure surface water to pure groundwater. It was a major expense. We spent about $300 million to do that so far. And as I said, we now have more groundwater rights than any other entity in the nation. Now that the lake has come back significantly, 26%, we're blending that water with groundwater to try to maximize our resources. Now, if we only had a way to get it to town. This is, best guess, that might be a 100-foot geyser there. We had a blowout December 30th. We repaired that. It took us 16 days to repair it. We started pumping again, and then 20 hours later, we had our second blowout, 2 pipes down. We went ahead and initiated a $1 million survey to walk every inch of the line to assess the pipeline with electromagnetic survey. That's just recently been completed on 26 miles, and it's showing it's not nearly as bad as we thought. We have 2 really bad areas near Asarco and SPS, but other than that, it's very manageable, and we're just going to bypass that part of the system with new pipe in the next few weeks. This is big pipe, 6 foot inside diameter or larger, so it's pretty challenging to work with. Where are we going? We have 2 lines, or 2 red lines on this graph. You can see the blue lines are existing pipelines. One comes from the groundwater project over, you see it goes just south of the border. The solid red line we're in the process of purchasing right-of-way for right now. We're well underway on that process. We've done all the surveys and everything we need to do pretty much. Now we're just starting to negotiate. The plan for that is that come online 2023 plus or minus, start final design in 2020. That's subject to change. This pipeline will basically double our groundwater capacity, which is equal to our original lake water line. Our lake water line, when we're out of lake water, is only running half full. We need more than that. So this will fill in for the lake when it's not available. Certainly when the lake's available, we're going to use it. The question came up earlier about recharging the aquifer. In our area of the aquifer, it's about 1/4 of an inch a year. So nothing, pretty much, certainly compared to pumping. So the lake's our go-to source when we possibly can. Crimois 3, we really came up with that just to try to justify the size of Crimois 2. We were talking about a larger pipeline to come in there so at some point in the future we could parallel from Amarillo down to Lubbock when needed. But the time value of money made it obvious we just need to build the Crimois 2 line large enough to fill up that original line. And then if Crimois 3 is ever needed, which I hope it is, and I hope Water Conservation comes in and takes care of that issue, that's what it might look like. Who knows? About nearly $250 million for Crimois 2 coming up, including the wells and such as that. Pretty picture that Rod took. It's no, the sun's not setting on Crimois, but we're just now getting started really, and got a lot of challenges ahead of us, but we've got them under control right now. We feel like, and I would be glad to. I think I gave you back some time. That's one thing I can do in a speech is make it quick. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. Anybody but Charles Bowers. Yes. The funding comes 100% from our member cities, pretty much. Yeah, the Amarillo is 37% or 37 point something percent of the entire lake water project. Of this work that's being done right now, they're about 45% of that. But all of our member cities fund this completely. Yes, sir. Well, Yes, yes, they'll both, okay, the second pipeline coexists with the original groundwater pipeline, is that your question? Yes. What it'll do is it'll come in, it's not gonna be parallel, it'll come directly to Amarillo. Borger and Pampa will get their water off of the original, well, Borger will get their water off the original groundwater system, Pampa will get it off this new system, but everybody else will get water from this new line, and it just bypasses a lot of issues, and it's a more direct route.
When will the repairs be done to the lake water line?
Well, we're working on it now. Actually, we're refilling right now as we speak. We should start pumping full blast here in the next few hours to refill all the storage reservoirs. We've repaired 10 or 11 spots so far that we found. Well, the original one we didn't find in the survey, but we've repaired 10 or 11 joints already. We're really getting the hang of that project. We have another survey coming up March 7th to go from the Amarillo Regulating Reservoir, which is near, well, it's at the intersection of the Fritz Highway and 24th Street. We'll do that survey the first week in March, March 7th, and then we'll fill back up again after that survey, and then we'll do more repairs until the cities tell us to stop because they need the water because of the time of year. But we'll probably have, we feel like we're going to have all the critical joints done by summer. And then next year, I think we'll start on the smaller broken wire wrap pieces of pipe, and then we should have all that done probably by the next summer.
Well, I've got two, but on the pumping you're doing for the salt, are y'all still pumping that water out now?
Yes, we are.
Where does it go? In
We
an
inject it
injection
into
well?
it. We put it in a deep injection well for now. We're
Okay.
looking at options on that, maybe drying beds or several different options, but that's the current.
I've had that question asked to me when I was leading a tour at the lake, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
The other one is, you showed pictures and they were Harbor Bay. What was the elevation of the bottom when the lake went down compared to what it was when it was the lake?
I think that picture was taken in 2011. It got down as low as
Not the
26
water, not the water, the dirt there at Harbor Bay that you took the picture of. How much of that washed in? Because I know when we were boating out there, it was like 50 or 60 foot deep there, and it ain't anywhere near that deep now. From the level of the top. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I don't think we've had any wash in there at all that I know of. That water there used to be the midpoint of the lake. When the
Right,
lake
but it sure was a lot deeper than it's going to be able to get now, is what I'm thinking. Because we used to camp in the big part of Harbor Bay, and you walk out there and it was 20 foot deep like that, and it's not going to be that way now.
Well, as far as I know, there hadn't been anything wash in there, but that may not be the case.
Okay, well, I've heard that the estimated life when they built that type of a dam is about 100 years because of the silt wash in.
And that was assuming we were getting this 126,000 acre feet of run.
Right.
You have to have water running in to get sedimentation. I think the more recent estimate is 300 to 500 years on the life of the reservoir.
Join me in thanking Kent Satterwhite for his presentation.
Thank you.